Hello, everyone, and welcome back to English Comfort Zone.
Hi, everyone. We're really happy you're here with us today.
If you're new here, feel free to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us share more English conversations with you. So, what are we talking about today?
Today, we are going to look at something that, well, it makes a lot of people nervous. We're talking about the business lunch.
Right. Eating and working at the same time.
Yeah.
It sounds tricky. Is it just about the food?
Actually, no. And that's the first big thing we found. The food is, completely secondary.
Secondary. So we're not there to enjoy the meal.
Not really. I mean, the main goal isn't to have a delicious meal. The goal is building relationships.
Okay.
It's about getting to know your colleague or your client outside of the office.
That makes sense. It just changes the whole atmosphere, doesn't it?
It does. But, as we went through the research, we found there are a lot of rules, sort of hidden rules about how to talk and act.
It's almost like a test of your social skills, isn't it?
It really is. If you can handle yourself at a table, people just assume you can handle yourself in a meeting.
Right, or a negotiation.
Exactly.
So let's start at the very beginning. Before we even get to the restaurant, we have to deal with the invitation.
This is where a lot of people get stuck. They overthink it.
Totally. You want to be polite, of course, but you don't want to sound too formal.
Right. You don't want to say, I formally request your presence at a nutritional consumption event.
That sounds terrifying. I would definitely say no to that.
The sources all suggest keeping it really simple. The standard polite phrase is just, would you like to have lunch on Friday?
Would you like to have lunch on Friday? It's
Good, right?
direct, it's clear.
Yeah, and it's hard to misunderstand. It's very safe. But what if you want to sound a bit friendlier?
Maybe with a colleague you know
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah.
Then I think you can make it more personal. Something like, I know a great Italian place. Do you want to join me?
That's great. Yeah. By mentioning a specific place, you're offering value. Not just a meeting, but a good experience.
And do you want to join me? Feels much more welcoming. What about dinner, though? That feels like a bigger deal than lunch.
It is. It's a bigger commitment. That's why the language needs to be even more casual. A great phrase we found is using the verb grab.
Grab, like
Oh.
catching something.
Yes. You could say, what do you say to grabbing dinner on Monday?
Grabbing dinner, it sounds quick, it sounds easy,
Exactly. It implies we're not going to be there for 5 hours. It's low pressure.
but there's a trap here, right? With the food itself. Inviting someone is risky if you don't know what they eat.
That is so true. Imagine inviting a client to a steakhouse and then you find out they're a vegetarian.
That would be a disaster.
Yeah.
You'd feel terrible and they'd be hungry.
So you absolutely have to check. It shows you care, but you don't want to, list every possible allergy.
Right? You don't want to make it complicated.
You can just ask a simple, open question like, is there anything you don't eat?
That's good. Or maybe, do you have any preference for the restaurant?
Perfect. It puts the ball in their court.
That's a sports idiom, right?
Yeah. It means it's their turn to decide. If they choose the place, they'll find something to eat.
So the key takeaway is that the invitation sets the tone. Friendly, clear, and, thoughtful.
Precisely. Okay, so let's fast forward. The date is set. We're going to the restaurant. I know for me, I'm always worried about being late.
You should be. In the US and the UK, time is money.
Punctuality is, well, it's non-negotiable. The research is very strict. You can't be on time by arriving at the exact minute.
So on time is actually late.
In a way, yes. You should aim to arrive about 5 minutes early. It gives you a moment to, calm down, check your coat.
Okay, 5 minutes early. Got it. So I arrive. I see my colleague. Do I wave? Do I hug? What do I do?
That is always the awkward part. In some cultures, a kiss on the cheek is normal, but for an international business lunch,
I would probably avoid the kiss.
I agree. In a standard business setting, just stick to the handshake. It's universal. But, and this is crucial, it has to be a good handshake.
What makes a handshake good? I feel like people overthink this.
It's not just grabbing a hand. It communicates confidence. It needs to be firm. One of our articles warns against the dead fish handshake.
The dead fish.
Yeah.
Ugh. That gives me a very unpleasant mental image.
It should. It's when a hand is limp and weak and cold, like holding a fish from the market.
Oh, that's awful. I think I've had one of those.
If you give one, people unconsciously think you're weak or lacking energy. You want to avoid that.
So, firm grip. Not crushing their bones, but firm.
Right.
Hold it for about 2 to 4 seconds. And here's a visual tip.
Yeah.
Smile and make eye contact while you're shaking hands. It connects the action with a positive emotion.
Exactly. Okay, now we move to the table. We sit down. This is where I always get confused. The napkin
It feels like there's secret rules about the napkin. When do I even touch it?
It's classic etiquette, but so many people get it wrong. As soon as you sit down, immediately you take the napkin and put it on your lap.
Not wait for the food? Nope. Right away. It shows you're settled and ready. Now, here's a scenario. You need to use the restroom during the meal. Okay?
What do you do with the napkin? You can't take it with you?
I guess I would leave it on the table.
And that would be a mistake.
Really? What?
If you put it on the table, it signals to the waiter that you're finished eating. They might take your plate away.
Oh, no. I definitely don't want that. So where does it go?
You put it on your chair?
On the chair.
Yes. It's a signal. Napkin on the chair means I'm coming back. Napkin on the table means I'm finished.
It really is a secret code. Chair means pause. Table means stop. I'll remember that.
It saves your food. Now, you mentioned eye contact before. I read something fascinating about a business gaze. What is that?
Oh, this is so interesting. It's about where you look on someone's face. We don't usually think about it, but our eyes send these powerful messages.
Right.
In a social situation with a friend, you might look at their eyes and mouth.
Okay, yeah, looking at the mouth feels more personal.
Exactly. You can be seen as intimate. For business, you want to be professional. So you focus your eyes on the triangle between the eyes and the forehead.
The forehead. Really, I feel like I'd be staring at their brain.
It sounds strange, but it keeps the interaction serious. If you look down at the mouth, it softens the dynamic. By keeping your gaze high, you maintain authority.
That is a very specific tip.
And there's a rule for how much you should look. It's called the 50-70 rule.
I love a good rule. Makes it easier. What's 50-70?
It says you should look at the other person 50% of the time when you are speaking.
Okay.
And 70% of the time when you are listening.
Wait, so when I'm listening, I need to look more than when I'm talking?
Yes. When you're talking, it's natural to look away, to think of a word.
That's true. I do that all the time.
But when you're listening, looking at them shows respect. It shows you're engaged. If you look away while they're talking, you look bored.
Or distracted, like you're looking for an escape route.
Exactly. So listening requires more visual focus than speaking.
Okay, so I'm looking at their forehead. I'm listening 70% of the time. Now the waiter comes. Time to order.
The moment of truth. I usually just say, I would like the salad. Is that okay?
I would like is perfectly polite. You won't offend anyone. But in modern English-speaking cultures, it can sound a little bit too formal.
Too stiff.
Yeah, it just creates a little bit of distance.
So what's a better way to say it? How do we sound professional but relaxed?
You can just use the future form. I'll have. Like, I'll have the chicken, please. It's confident and quick.
I'll have the chicken. Or you can turn it into a polite question. Could I have the soup? Could I have the soup? That sounds very natural.
It does. It sounds like a request, not a demand.
Now, here's a tricky situation. I have a seafood allergy. Like, a serious one.
Okay, that is serious.
How do I say that without making a big scene or sounding difficult?
This is a safety issue, so you have to be direct, but you can still be polite. You don't need to give them your whole medical history.
Right. Keep it simple.
You can just ask the waiter, does this dish contain seafood?
And if I'm not sure what to order?
Then you just explain the restriction and ask for help. I have a seafood allergy. Can you recommend something safe?
That's good. It shows you trust the staff.
And it solves the problem quickly.
Okay, now speaking of ordering, this is the hardest part for me. Choosing what to eat. Do I get the lobster? A small salad.
This is where you need to be a detective. The sources suggest a strategy called mirroring.
Mirroring, you mean copying them?
Sort of. You should mirror your guest or your host, not the exact same dish, but you want to match the category of food.
Can you give an example?
Sure. If they order a full main course with a starter, you should probably order a main course too, if they only get a light salad.
I shouldn't order a giant steak.
Exactly. It's about pacing. You don't want to be eating for 20 minutes while they just sit and watch you.
I see. It's about being on the same level.
And regarding the lobster, the general rule is to avoid the most expensive thing on the menu.
Unless the host tells you to order it. Right. It's just polite. And there's one more huge warning. Avoid messy foods. Oh, I know this one. The spaghetti danger.
Precisely. No spaghetti with red sauce, no giant burgers that fall apart, no ribs.
Why? Just because of the mess?
Well, imagine you're trying to impress a client. You take a bite of spaghetti, and a drop of red sauce lands on your white shirt.
Oh, that's a nightmare.
It is. For the rest of the lunch, you're not thinking about the deal. You're thinking about the spot on your shirt. You lose all your confidence.
You just want to focus on talking, not fighting with your food.
That is excellent advice. Stick to food that's easy to cut and eat.
So, We have our food, we're safe from the sauce, now we have to actually talk. And we can't just talk about business right away, can we?
Right. That would be too aggressive. You need small talk.
Some people hate small talk. They think it's a waste of time.
But in business, small talk is the bridge. It helps you find common ground. It builds trust.
I actually like small talk, but what are some safe topics that always work?
The classic one, of course, is the weather. Can you believe this rain?
It's simple. Everyone experiences it.
Exactly. Travel is another great one. How was your trip? It lets people share a little story.
I also like talking about the restaurant itself.
Yes, that's immediate and shared. You can say, this is a nice place. The atmosphere is great. It's positive and easy.
And hobbies are good too, right?
Yeah.
You like hiking.
Yeah, it lets the other person talk about what they love.
Okay, those seem safe. But are there topics I should absolutely avoid? The danger zone. Definitely. There are 4 big ones: politics, religion, money, and health. Politics and religion make sense. Those can get heated.
Very quickly. And with money, we mean personal finances. Don't ask how much someone makes.
It's very intrusive.
And health. Please don't talk about your dentist appointment while people are eating.
Okay, noted. Keep it positive. Good plan. So we're chatting about the weather. How do I switch to business?
You need transition phrases. You can't just stop talking about the weather and suddenly start talking about quarterly earnings.
It's too abrupt. So what do we say?
You can use phrases like, by the way, or that reminds me, to bridge the gap.
Speaking of. It's a good one too, isn't it?
Yes. Speaking of our project, it helps you steer the conversation smoothly.
Now imagine this scenario. The restaurant is noisy. Maybe there's music.
Restaurants are often noisy.
The other person is speaking really fast.
Yeah.
And I have no idea what they just said. Is it rude to ask them to repeat it?
Not at all. In fact, pretending to understand is much riskier. You might agree to something you didn't mean to.
That is my fear.
Yeah.
I agree. Great, so you'll pay double. Wait, what?
Exactly. Avoid that trap.
How do I ask politely without looking like I wasn't listening?
Well, avoid just saying what. It sounds aggressive. A really easy way is to just say, sorry.
Sorry.
Yes, but the intonation is key. Your voice has to go up at the end like a question, sorry.
Okay.
Perfect. It implies, sorry, I didn't hear you. You can also say, I didn't catch that.
I didn't catch that. Like a ball.
Exactly. The words were thrown and you missed them. It's polite.
Or just, could you say that again?
Or what was that? Yeah. And what if you understood the words, but not the meaning?
Oh, that's a good question.
Then you can summarize. You say, so what you're saying is, and then you repeat what you think they meant.
That confirms you're on the same page. And it shows you were really listening.
Right. Okay, so the meal is over. We've talked, we've eaten. Now comes the awkward moment.
The bill arrives. Who pays? The dance of the bill. It can be so awkward. But the general rule is actually quite simple. The person who invites is the person who pays. So if I said, would you like to join me for lunch? Then I pay.
Correct. You're the host. When the bill comes, you should reach for it confidently.
And what should I say?
You can say phrases like, the meal's on me, or my treat. It shows confidence.
What about splitting the bill? I hear going Dutch a lot.
Yeah, going Dutch means everyone pays for themselves.
Is that common in business?
It depends. In the US and Europe, it's pretty common among colleagues who are at the same level.
But not with a client.
Usually not with a client. And in Asia or the Middle East, the host almost always pays. Going Dutch can seem a bit rude there.
It implies the host isn't taking care of the guest.
Right, so just be careful with that cultural difference.
And if I do want to suggest splitting it with a coworker, what do I say?
You can just ask, shall we split the bill? Or let's go Dutch.
Okay. And then there's tipping. This confuses me every single time I travel.
It is confusing, and getting it wrong can be embarrassing.
Tell me the U.S. rules first.
In the U.S., tipping is basically mandatory, not optional. You need to leave 15 to 20% for the waiter.
Okay, 15 to 20. And in the U.K.?
In the U.K., it's more like 10 to 12%. But, and this is a trick, you have to check the bill. Sometimes they automatically include a service charge.
Ah, so if the service charge is there, I don't need to add more.
Exactly. If it says service charge included, you don't need to tip extra. That's a money-saving tip right there.
Good to know. Okay, we've paid. It's time to go.
Yeah.
How do I leave politely?
You need a graceful exit. You can say something like, I'm sorry, I must head off.
Head off. That sounds natural. And I should say thank you, right?
Always. Thank you for the productive lunch.
I like the word productive.
It's a nice little psychological trick. It reminds them that this was work, not just eating. It reinforces the value of the time you spent.
Is that it? Are we done?
Not quite. There's one more step, the follow-up.
An email.
Yes. You should send a thank you note or a short email. Try to do it within 24 hours.
What do I say?
Just something quick. Hi, name, thank you for lunch yesterday. I really enjoyed our discussion.
It leaves a lasting positive impression.
It's like a digital handshake to close the whole interaction.
I like that. It closes the loop. So to recap, a business lunch is really just about being friendly, polite, and clear.
That's right. You don't need complex grammar. Just simple, polite phrases. It's all about making the other person feel comfortable.
I feel much more ready for my next work lunch now. I'm going to practice my business gaze in the mirror.
Good luck with that.
But I do have a question for all of you listening. Do you prefer to pay for everyone, or do you prefer going Dutch? Let us know in the comments.
Thanks for joining us.
See you next time on English Comfort Zone. Bye.